Alright, so this section of notes is specifically about trapezoids. So let's talk about the parts of a trapezoid. The two parallel lines are bases, so the top and the bottom are base, and the lines that are not parallel to each other are called legs. The angles created wherever the legs meet the base are called the base angles. So base angles on either end of the legs are supplementary. So this means that angle A and angle D add up to equal 180, angle B and angle C add up to equal 180. So if I know that angle A is 118 degrees, I can figure out exactly what angle D equals. Same goes with B and C. If I know what angle B equals, I can figure out what angle C equals by subtracting it from 180. So angle C would equal 95. Okay, this works because they are same side interior angles, and those are supplementary. So if these are parallel lines and I thought of these as transversals, then the two angles that are the same side of the transversal are supplementary to each other. So trapezoids have midsegments, and we talked about midsegments of triangles, and midsegments of trapezoids are very similar. So the midsegment of a trapezoid is parallel to each of the bases, and its length is half of the sum of the bases. Basically, if you average the two bases together, you get the length of the midsegment. So XY is the midsegment. It is parallel to line AB and line DC, and it divides each leg into two equal parts. So AX is congruent to XD, and BY is congruent to YC. So the length of XY is the average of the lengths of AB and DC. So if I know that AB is 13 and that DC is 29, okay, I can average those two together by adding them, 13 plus 29, and dividing by 2. And that is 42 over 2, which is 21. So the length of XY is 21. So a harder example would be something like this, where all three lengths are given to you in algebraic expressions. So again, I would add the top and the bottom, so x plus 9 and 3x plus 5, and divide by 2. And what you would get would be your midsegment length, which I know is x plus 12. So to undo the divided by 2 part, I'd multiply both sides by 2. It gets rid of the 2 on this side, and it multiplies into the expression over here. Combine my like terms, and I get 4x plus 14 equals 2x plus 24. Subtract, divide, and x equals 5. An isosceles trapezoid is a trapezoid that has legs that are congruent. This creates sets of base angles that are congruent. So I know that O is congruent to N and L is congruent to M. Now L plus O still is going to equal 180, and M plus N will still equal 180. So in a problem like this, okay, I have ABCD is an isosceles trapezoid. I get that AB is equal to 2y minus 3, BC is x plus y, AC is 5x, and BD is y plus 5. Okay, so the legs of the isosceles trapezoid are congruent. So I know that 2y minus 3 equals x plus y. I'm going to solve for y, and I end up with y equals x plus 3. I also know the diagonals of the trapezoid are congruent. So I know that 5x equals y plus 5. Again, I'm going to solve for y. So now I have y equals this expression, and y also equals this expression. Well, if both of these equal y, then they equal each other. Then I can use that to solve for x. What I do when I solve for x is I divide both sides by 4, and I get x equals 2. To solve for y, I would take this x value and plug it into either one of these, and I would get that y equals 5. The other topic for tonight is kites. Kites is a quadrilateral with two pair of congruent consecutive sides. Diagonals of the kite are always perpendicular. Although the diagonals do not bisect each other, the short diagonal, which is going from opposite vertex, is bisected. The angles at either end of the short diagonal are congruent. So this large angle is congruent to this large angle over here. So how would we use this in an example? Given a kite QRST, it gives you that angle Q is 38 degrees and angle S is 81 degrees, and it wants you to find angle T. Well, I know that this is going to be the missing angle, so I'm going to call it X.
Call 271. Steve Childers, call 271, please.
So I know that all the angles together have to add up to equal 360. So 38 plus 81 plus 2x equals 360. Do the algebra and find out that angle T equals 120.5 degrees. Last example, because diagonals are perpendicular, the Pythagorean theorem could be used for kites. So we're going to use this to solve for lengths. Since these create 90-degree angles, xb plus xa, each of them being squared, will equal the square of AB. So this is an a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So it tells you if DB equals 10 and BC equals 13, what's the measure of XC? So since I know that DB is bisected by AC, I know that XB equals 5. So I just drew out just that triangle. I took this segment, this section of the kite, and drew it out here. And what we get is 5 squared plus XC squared equals 13 squared. This is the hypotenuse out here, and that one always has to go in place of C. So 25 plus XC squared equals 169. Subtract 25 from both sides, and I get that the length of XC is 12.